as long as we have fewer than 10, we're okay as far as time, right? Okay, so 1, 2, 4, 5, 6 times 3 is 18, 9, okay, 18 and 6 is 24. Okay, and is that, how do you pronounce that, Morin?
Yeah, Morin.
Okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. What? Oh. So we're making sure that we can get Councilmember Christensen live before we start. So we'll be started in a moment here. Thank you for your patience. We'll get this figured out briefly. Oh, there we go. That looks promising.
We can see her.
This is progress. Well, something always goes wrong.
It's like Zoom. You can only click it so many times.
Looks like we're close.
She can see us now.
Okay, so we're set. All right, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm calling to order this meeting of the Richfield City Council. It's February 24th at 7 p.m. If you're able, please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Our first order of business is approval of the agenda.
I move approval of the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the agenda. Is there any discussion? All right, City Clerk Friedrich, could you please call the roll?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Supple. Councilmember Burke?
Aye.
Councilmember Hayford O'Leary?
Aye.
Councilmember Christensen?
Aye.
And Councilmember Coleman Woods?
Aye.
And Mayor Supple.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, we have approved the agenda. Next, we have consideration of the approval of the minutes of City Council work session for February 10th, 2026, and the regular City Council meeting from February 10th, 2026.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Burke to approve and seconded by Councilmember Hayford O'Leary. Is there any discussion? All right, City Clerk Friedrich, would you please call the roll?
Thank you. Yes, Councilmember Burke?
Aye.
Councilmember Hayford O'Leary?
Aye.
Councilmember Christensen?
Aye.
Councilmember Coleman Woods?
Aye.
And Mayor Supple.
Aye.
Thank you.
The minutes have been approved. Thank you. Next, we will move on to open forum. There are a number of people wishing to speak tonight, so we'll strictly follow the 3-minute time limit. I'll hold up a yellow card when you have 30 seconds left and a red card when your time is expired. And I'd like you to please remind you to please listen respectfully and quietly to all, even those you disagree with. When you approach the podium, state your name and your city of residence, and then I'll start the timer. Please keep in mind that anything you share becomes part of the public record. All right, thank you. So our first person is Birgit Johnson, and on deck is Jacob Poppy.
Birgit Johnson, Richfield. There's one story my father told me when I was young that I keep thinking of. My father was born in 1919 in Stettin, Germany. Stettin is now called Szczecin and is today part of Poland. The land was taken from us for collective punishment. When my father was a teenager during the Third Reich under Hitler's reign, he lived in an apartment building with his family. The family above them was a couple with a son who had Down syndrome. One day, uniformed men appeared and tore the child out of the apartment above, with the parents clinging to the child and the uniformed men. The scene continued into the hallway, down the stairs, and to the outside. At that time, a person with Down syndrome was considered not worth living by the standards of the Third Reich. When asked what my father did, he said he could not believe it. This is where we are today for many. I am not against immigration enforcement. I am against how it is accomplished these days. I went through immigration at another time. I did not encounter immigration agents in military attire, heavily armed and masked. We are told that after people's outrage, the approach has changed, but the contempt from above toward the people continues. Responsibility seems to be the victim's part. The party currently in power is not accountable. Those in power and the people acting for them must also be able to face consequences. A civilized society obeys norms and rules that seem to have abandoned in the US. England is giving us the example with the former Prince Andrew. When there is the belief that we are not part of the rest of the world but a part, we are lying to ourselves. In fact, the United States was built on ideals, not homogeneity. Isolation is not a way to prosperity or salvation. There have been experiments in closing societies. Think of the former East Germany, which shunned innovation, and in case of the former East Germany, became a gray and depressed reality. Incentives were taken away. As we have seen, you don't grow an economy by shrinking it with the deportation of immigrants. A society is not made better by cruelty. Change will come. Fear will not stop it.
Thank you. Next, we have Jacob Poppy, and on deck is Erica Klein.
Good evening. My name is Jacob Poppy from Richfield, Minnesota. I wanted to voice my concerns this evening on the use of automated license plate readers in our community. ALPRs are a serious risk to our privacy and civil liberties. These systems continuously record our movements without a warrant, probable cause, or even reasonable suspicion. These systems are marketed as indispensable tools to fight crime, but they ignore the powerful tools police already have to track criminals, such as cell phone location data, creating a loophole that doesn't require a warrant. I again ask that the City Council seriously consider removing the flock cameras that they all have already been installed in Richfield, to end the contract with Flock and bar future ALPRs from our community. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Okay, next we have Erica Klein, and on deck is Nick Trotner.
Thank you for what you've already done to help residents impacted by federal immigration enforcement. I have another idea. Today I was talking to a Richfield resident who's helping a family that has been impacted by enforcement. That family can't go back to their home, they're afraid to go to their home, and consequently they weren't able to move their car, and their car was towed, and it cost them $1,000 ultimately to get their car back. Would it be possible to have a towing moratorium so that this wouldn't happen to families who are, because of immigration enforcement, afraid to go to where their car is and unable to move their car? I know that enforcement is sporadic as it is. I think we have some tolerance for cars being on the street. My next door neighbor's car has been on the street through every snow emergency this year, and I'm not turning him in because I know he's struggling. It has nothing to do with immigration enforcement, but it would be a struggle for him to deal with that car right now. So I know we have some tolerance for that, and I think this is another opportunity when we think, what can government do? I think we can ease up on towing during a time when families are unable, because of fear of immigration enforcement actions, to move their cars. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Nick Trotner, and then on deck is Scott Dahlquist.
Nick Troutner, City of Richfield. A system of laws only function if the people governed by it have faith in it. You cannot hold a society together through brute force. It does not matter how much tear gas, flashbangs, LRADs, SWAT vehicles, riot shields, drones, and tasers you have. If the government uses force to keep a populace in check, anytime there's a shift in power, there are gaps in control. Leaders and potential leaders who are fighting each other to wield the weapons of the state end up destroying each other and the state in the process. The law only functions if the people governed by it have faith in it. The people believe the laws being made were voted for by them or their representatives on their behalf for their benefit. This is where the authority to enforce the law comes from, the will of the people, not the implements of enforcement. The law that govern a society only functions if the governed also have faith those laws apply to everyone, civilian and law enforcement alike. Without that, there is no accountability. To the police of Richfield, you have a conscience. You have free will. That badge and that uniform are not some talisman that robs you of your reasoning. People keep saying that Operation Metro Surge put police into an impossible position. This is not the case. There was a decision, and it was made. The state and local police, as well as the National Guard, decided that the suffering of their communities at the hands of ICE was not worthy of their intervention nor their protection. Businesses closing, property damaged, kidnappings, murders, intimidation, and the racist behavior of ICE was not reason enough for the people who protect and serve to actually do it. Our community is angry with you. We now have to take steps to protect our families from the federal government. And I know that if ICE breaks into my house, with an administrative warrant because they've labeled me a domestic terrorist for following them with a whistle and a phone, the police will not protect my family. I wonder if they care. Are the police a part of this community, or are they simply here to make sure that some people are required to follow the law while other people with badges don't? Why are they here? What is their purpose? Because I'm running out of answers to that question if I have to patrol my own neighborhood and arm myself to keep the people that I care about safe. If the people call for the defunding of the police, they shouldn't be offended. It's a direct response to what we all saw. We have been fighting ICE alone with nothing but phones and whistles. They couldn't even be bothered to slow ICE down with simple citations for their many transgressions, and even ones provided by the city for that purpose. The considerable arsenal of the police apparently only exists to suppress the people if we become lawless, and is not used to protect the people when ICE is lawless. The reality is, during Operation Metro Surge, the people were placed in an impossible position, not the police. They abandoned our community to ICE's savagery after swearing an oath to protect it. Shame on you, Richfield Police Department. If you choose not to be our protectors, then you are only our jailers.
Thank you. Next, we have Scott Dahlquist, and on deck is Ginny Moran.
My name is Scott Dahlquist. I'm an Army veteran, a retired police officer, and a 34-year resident of Richfield. The storm of ICE activity may have abated, but the damage done, material and emotional, things seen and unseen, remains. During my life, I have watched as local governments debated how to respond to those whose status among us was described as illegal or undocumented. Motivated by an ancient religious maxim to love your neighbor as yourself, and that the federal government lacked the resources and the will to locate, detain, and ultimately deport all in this status, policies were enacted to not require proof of legal status, unless specifically required by an activity, such as voting in an election or issuing a U.S. passport. I must, however, reluctantly concede the words of someone quoted in a recent Minnesota Star Tribune article that said this practice provided a false promise. Local governments may choose not to inquire or assist the federal government in this matter, but it is the federal government that has the power to make and administer the law in this sphere and to deport those in violation of it, no matter how benign or even positive their presidents may have been among us. Our current president promised in his campaign to deport all in this country here in violation of these laws, no matter the cost, financial or otherwise. He has described this group as composed largely and at times exclusively of violent and dangerous criminals, an assertion not supported by statistics or our own lived experience. He sent a large contingent of militarized federal agents to our cities to enforce his will, and who have conducted their operations in a harsh and remorseless manner, bearing little resemblance to many law enforcement operations I have been part of. Many of various statuses have been swept up in these operations, detained in a federal facility not far from here that was not designed for the volume or length of current detentions, resulting in unsanitary and unsafe conditions for all involved. 2 citizen observers have died in encounters with these agents. In the videos I have seen of them, I can see no clear justification for the deadly force used against them. There are legal pathways to enter the United States, but the laws and system to administer these are cumbersome, understaffed, and underfunded, serving neither our economic interests or our more nobler humanitarian impulses. The best long-term solution is to advocate at a federal level for allowing more persons in legally and provide a broader pathway to citizenship for those who wish to be part of this ongoing experiment, American experiment in self-governance. Our country was founded nearly 2.5 centuries ago with the self-evident assertion, bold for its time, that all men, a term which has become more inclusive in the fullness of time, are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. I hope all of us can keep this in mind as we strive, individually and collectively, to build a more perfect union, so that in the words of President Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address, the government of the people, by the people, and for the people shall not perish from the earth.
Thank you. All right, and now we have Ginny Moran.
Good Ginny Moore. I'm a Richfield resident. And I am here to ask the council to stop funding what's termed as the economic impact of the ICE operations. Mostly, and I think about things like businesses that closed in the ICE out days and things like that, it's an act of civil disobedience. And with that, there are consequences. You choose to close, you know you're going to forego that. And if you want the city to step up and pay for the money that you lost as a result of that, that's not civil disobedience. That's entitlement. It's the perfect opportunity for people that feel like, I want to give to those businesses that have done that. Charitable giving, all day, do it. That's perfectly fine, but for the government, we can't afford that. Richfield residents can't afford that. Our taxes are already crazy high. And to be putting money into actions that really are a result of people's actions have consequences. Even people who maybe they didn't go to work because they were here illegally, they're worried about getting caught up. Well, you made a decision to come here illegally. There are consequences to those actions. Maybe you're called to be held accountable to them, maybe you're not. I don't say this because I don't love people, but I say it because actions have consequences. And by way of example, I'm going to change the name to protect the guilty. Last spring, young Jay was coming home from school, and he got pulled over for speeding. And we talked about it, and I was like, what's going on? And he said, well, the car in front of him was driving erratically. It made him nervous. He didn't like being on the road with it. He just wanted to get around and get away from that guy as quickly as possible. So he did, and he got caught. Now, he wasn't speeding because he just felt like going out and speeding. He felt like he was not in a good position to do that. He also knew that there were laws against that. He knew what that if he got pulled over, those were consequences. And $200 later to a young kid with minimal income, there were consequences to those actions. People may have come here for the right reasons, and that's fine, but that's a choice you make and a chance you take. If you're here illegally and you're called to account for that, then so you are. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
Hi, Ava McKnight, Richfield resident. I'm going to stay on topic. Lighting. I am going to talk about lighting. Lighting has been increasing a lot around Richfield. I no longer walk down at Vets Park because the lights are so bright around the ice arena, around the community gardens. And now at the end of my block, at 11th and 66th, there's a huge light on a small building that is some kind of public works building, probably water. And it's attached facing outward, so I go to a stop sign and I'm entirely blinded to be able to see right or left. And so go back, I'm gonna back up to the general. In general, lighting, one, is not good for public health. So it disrupts sleep, and these lights are facing apartments right across the street, and that light is trespassing across a street. It's also not good for me because I had eye cancer, and so it's really hard to see, and having lights come at me that are blinding. And that includes the new lighting that's on the streets. Okay, and then it's also a park. And so the environment, lights affect migrating birds, affects bugs, it affects all kinds of things that are in the environment. And so why are we lighting up our parks? Question mark. Thank you.
Thank you. Can I have your sheet as well? Is there anyone else who wishes to speak? Thank you to all of our speakers, and I invite you to stick around for the rest of the meeting, including the city manager's report and the council discussion at the end. Thank you. So we'll move on from open forum. Next, we have the proclamations and presentation, and I'm going to invite Human Rights Commissioner Michael Zazzara to join me up at the podium for a proclamation of the City of Richfield celebrating Black History Month. This is a proclamation of the City of Richfield. Whereas each February, during Black History Month, the United States honors the contributions and sacrifices of African Americans who have helped shape the nation. And whereas the City of Richfield, Minnesota, takes pride in recognizing February 2026 as Black History Month, honoring the many notable contributions that people of African descent have made to the United States, including our community, and celebrate the rich cultural heritage, triumphs, and adversities that are an indelible part of our country's history. And whereas the City of Richfield celebrates the diversity of Black people in Richfield, the state of Minnesota, our nation, and the Black diaspora, whether they identify as African, African American, Afro-Latino, Afro-Caribbean, or Black. And whereas Americans of African descent are responsible for more than 50,000 inventions with the U.S. Patent Office that are used every day that improve the daily lives of Americans, such as home security systems, traffic lights, refrigerator trucks, and color monitors. And whereas Black or African American residents contribute to our Richfield community in a variety of roles, such as teachers, public safety officers, business owners, and neighbors. And whereas the City of Richfield, its City Council, and staff identify diversity and equity as core values, recognizing that our diverse culture is one of our greatest strengths and assets, striving to promote an environment of equity and inclusion. And whereas Rory Coleman Woods is the first Black council member for the City of Richfield, and whereas the Richfield Human Rights Commission supported this proclamation at its February 5th, 2026 meeting and recommended the Richfield City Council do the same. Now therefore, I, Mary Supple, Mayor of Richfield, on behalf of the Richfield City Council, do hereby proclaim the month of February 2026 as Black History Month in the City of Richfield and call on the people of Richfield to continue to honor the contributions of Black Americans throughout the entire year with appropriate programs, activities, and celebrations. Proclaim this 24th day of February 2026. Thank you. Did you wish to say anything?
Sure. All right, thank you, Mayor and City Council members. Excuse me, I'm accepting this proclamation on behalf of the Human Rights Commission for the City of Richfield, and I would hesitate to speak on behalf of others and their lived experiences, but I would just share that I reflected on a poem made recently, made famous in part by the late Reverend Jesse Jackson, I Am Somebody, which simply and strongly reminds us that everyone in our community is somebody. So, thank you.
Yep, you can take that. And thank you to the Human Rights Commission. Oops, thank you. Next, we'll move on to the consent calendar, and I'll turn it over to City Manager Rodriguez.
Thank you, Mayor Supple. The consent calendar contains several separate items which are acted upon by the City Council in one motion. Once the consent calendar has been approved, the individual items and recommended actions have also been approved. No further council action on these items is necessary. On tonight's consent calendar, item A, approve disbursements and claims. Item B, consider the approval of engineering consultant pool agreements between the city and the selected engineering firms for routine professional engineering services for calendar years 2026 through 2030. Item C, consider an emergency ordinance to temporarily extend pre-eviction notice requirements. And I do want to point out that the first version of the ordinance was not explicit that it takes effect upon passage, and that this final version of the ordinance is. And I submit these items for your consideration as part of the consent calendar.
I move to approve the consent calendar.
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Councilmember Burke.
Just one quick comment that in the historical context for the pre-notification eviction requirement, that it states that the study of a revised permanent policy is scheduled for late 2026, early 2027. I would ask that since the staff has already been working on this and they've been gathering information from landlords and some tenants on this, hopefully that can be done a little bit sooner. Beyond that, I'm very happy about the policy.
All right, thank you. Any other comments? And thank you to the staff for the quick turnaround time and the clarification of when the ordinance takes effect. So if there's no further comments, City Clerk Friedrich, would you please call the roll?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Supple. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Hayford O'Leary.
Aye.
Councilmember Christensen.
Aye.
Councilmember Coleman Woods.
Aye.
And Mayor Supple.
Aye.
Thank you.
All right, we've passed the consent agenda. That will move us on to the city manager's report. City Manager Rodriguez.
Yes, thank you. There were 7 speakers at our last council meeting, and 3 speakers provided new suggestions. 2 speakers suggested that the police do more to document interactions with DHS agents. The chief did make changes to dispatch and officer processes so that all 911 calls that are reporting an interaction with federal agents are automatically recorded in our dispatch software. That information can be pulled for reports. One speaker advocated for the city to provide additional rental assistance to Veep. Staff have been in contact with Veep, and as of our last conversation, some of our original 50,000 contract remains available for rent assistance. They have received large donations from the Richfield Leadership Network and also private donations in recent weeks, and that's allowed our dollars to stretch longer. So staff will continue to be in contact with Veep and plan to bring a recommendation to the city's Housing and Redevelopment Authority to provide future assistance for rent. Also, the Transportation Commission provided a recommendation to the City Council to stop the impoundment of abandoned vehicles unless it was a threat to public safety and discontinue fines. We have concerns that completely relaxing the city's enforcement of abandoned vehicles is likely to have unintended consequences. One of the most common code complaints is about illegally parked vehicles and trailers. And so we don't want to relax that completely. However, I've got several suggestions for your consideration. Cars may be left in a legal parking space, so pushing them to any legal space would be fine, and they can stay there for 48 hours. Also, public safety only enforces current ordinances based on complaints. Public safety staff have confirmed that with the city's towing contractor, that if a vehicle owners can submit proof that the car was abandoned due to immigration enforcement, due to an arrest, they will only be charged for the towing fee and 1 day's storage. And it really is the storage fees that result in the significant fines. Finally, I'm bringing back a proposal for you to consider. Staff can contract with the Richfield Leadership Network. I was thinking, you know, an initial amount of $5,000 and then perhaps allowing me to increase it to $10,000 without coming back to council if needed. And it would reimburse any Richfield residents for towing and impound fees related to an immigration enforcement arrest. The proposal is to fund it with a budget amendment, so it would be additional budget expense because we've already, the 2026 social service funding has already been solicited and scored, and actually that would come before you in March. I did discuss the idea just preliminarily with Richfield Leadership Network founder BJ Skoog, and he believes this is something that they can help with. It would be pending their board approval. So if the council supports pursuing this idea, then I can work with City Attorney Teachin and we can work on a contract and hammer out the details and then bring it back to you at a future meeting. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you. Are there any comments or questions for the city manager? Councilmember Hayford O'Leary.
Yeah, I will just say I think that's a good idea of working with RLN, and yeah, I appreciate the update. I think I would like to see that brought forward.
I agree. I would champion the usage of, you know, the funds from the city in an emergency, and, you know, not to exceed a certain amount, but yeah, for people to go through RLN first to see if they've still got funds available to help with that, and also the limitation of the fines of storage fees. It seems so egregious. It's add insult to injury for people to pay more if their loved one or if the owners of the vehicles have been detained. I think that's making it worse. So thank you. Appreciate your help on this.
Councilmember Burke.
I would also be in favor of both of those.
Councilmember Christensen, did you have anything to add?
Yes, I would totally agree with what's been said about the help from RLN and especially the towing fees, you know, and the storage fees, those types of things, because adding insult to injury, like has been said, you know, when people's lives are disrupted as such as they are so egregiously that some of the things that they don't think about, little things like their car or other types of things, should be handled in a better way.
Thank you. One of the reasons this came up is like Minneapolis and St. Paul, it's my understanding, own their own impound lots, so they can decide whether to forgive it or not. We had to talk with the towing service, and I appreciate that staff did that, because I think that is important to have that discussion and figure it out. And I think $5,000 is a reasonable amount. So if we can come back and we can hear feedback from the community and bring it up at the next meeting, that would be great. I assume that's what you were saying when you
Yes.
were going to bring it back to us.
Will
Okay,
do.
so
Thank
we'd
you.
have time for everybody to weigh in on that. All right, any other questions for City Manager Rodriguez? All right, thank you. Moving on, we'll go to council discussion for Hats Off to Hometown Hits. Councilmember Christensen?
Yes, one of the things I'd like to mention is that I'm sure everybody has received this hometown, if you can see it, the hometown guide. It's quite a very, very well put together this spring. It tells a lot of activities and a lot of things socially that people can be involved in starting as early as next month.
Thank you. Councilmember Coleman Woods.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to especially thank the city of Richfield for the outpouring of support in the death of my father-in-law, Pastor James Willie Woods. Came as a shock for us, even though we can never be prepared for those. He was barely an 8th grade graduate and came from Mississippi to Minnesota in light and hopes of raising his children here. My husband has 8 brothers and sisters, and there's so much to be said for a man that was able to, was called off of the plantation in order and forced to go to school in a schoolhouse in Mississippi to have moved here and created a life for himself. Especially during Black History Month, I reflect on his sacrifices that he's made and how he's instilled his faith in all of us and all of our children, all of his own children. And his legacy will continue to carry on, and I really can't thank the city enough for their outpouring and all of our family and friends here. We appreciate all the love and support.
Thank you. Councilmember Hayford O'Leary.
Nothing tonight.
Councilmember Burke.
Nothing tonight.
All right, thank you. I wanted to thank Margaret Perez for coming with us to join us on La Raza Radio, and also to thank Armando, who is the host, for making us welcome. And also, Ms. Perez joined me at the League of Women Voters. So I just want to say thank you for all of the outreach that she did and for everything with that. We also have been working with some area business owners and talking about ways that we can work together as a community. And we've been participating in the Cities for, I'm going to say this wrong, the Cities for Safe and Stable Communities. So we're able to have a meeting with Senator Smith last week. Tomorrow we're going to be meeting with Governor Walz, and we've been testifying at various committees and things about the impact and how it affects Richfield. So thank you to everybody that's been involved in that. And with that, is there any other things that anyone would like to add? Well, then the motion to adjourn would be in order.
I move adjournment.
Second it.
It's been moved and seconded to adjourn the meeting. City Clerk Friedrich, could you please call the roll?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Supple. Councilmember Burke.
Aye.
Councilmember Hayford O'Leary.
Aye.
Councilmember Christensen.
Aye.
Councilmember Coleman Woods.
Aye.
And Mayor Supple.
Aye.
Thank you.